host, Will Carey. As always, I appreciate you downloading and listening to my show. Again, if you would like to reach out to me, you can send me a message through my website, www.willcareyisfunny.com. That is Carey is funny.com. And I appreciate that there are people listening to this show because I've really been getting a lot emotionally and just professionally out of talking to my peers so far, and I'm hoping to expand and see how big I can get this show to be. So today, before we get started, I have comedian Patrick J. Reilly on the show. Pat's a comic book artist, stand-up comedian, all around energetic, affable guy. When I first met him, and we talk a little bit about this, he was sort of in the midst of kind of his wild salad days of drinking and partying. And we talk a little bit about how he gets out of that and where he is now. And we talk a bit about how he's been doing a lot more comic book writing. And it's really nice to see someone who, when you first met them, weren't entirely sure that they were going to make it through, and then to watch them pull themselves out of it. And it's really nice to see. And me and Pat had a great conversation. Also, before we cut to bed here, I want to just make sure again to plug my upcoming edition of my show. You can use that at the Creek in the Cave, February 25th at 8 p.m. It's going to be the next show. It's going to be a really good lineup. Some of the comics I have on the show, I'm going to have Tyler Richardson, who you may have heard on episode 5, and his girlfriend, Ayana Dookie, who's a comedian I knew. Ayana was on the first show I ever did in Baltimore. The first time I ever did stand-up comedy, she was there. So I got to get her on this on the podcast also. So Tyler, Ayana, Dominic Fogarty, visiting from London, Abigail Shaman is going to be on the show. I'm really excited to see her again. I haven't seen her in a while. And the rest of the lineup is escaping me, but I will have a link to the event page in the description, as well as links to my guest, Patrick J. Reilly's Instagram, as well as his Etsy shop. So let's go to my conversation with my friend, Pat, and I will talk to you afterwards. More than others, I think I've charted your journey from madness back to productivity more than other people in our group of peers, Pat.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, because I still have the first picture I ever took on Instagram was of you hanging out of my window.
Oh man, I know that
during the apartment mic. That was the first time I ever was on Instagram. I was like, and I remember going, this kid's a ball of energy and I know he's cool. He's off the rails right now, but
yeah, because it was called drinking. I was drinking a lot.
That's what it was.
Yeah. I was drinking a ton. I'm still drinking a lot, but not as much as I used to. Mm-hmm. And people, I didn't. You know, it's not. I'm not walking into parties with a bottle of white wine,
right,
and just finishing it.
And just finishing the entire bottle.
Yeah.
I used to think that would kill you, but I guess I'm wrong.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
And I did it a bunch. It wasn't like a one-time thing. There was a few times.
What was that, you think?
Like a bottle of wine? Oh, man. It was... I never drank before comedy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really?
And
really?
I didn't understand how it worked.
Okay.
That's what that was.
Right.
I realized it... I was just talking to a friend of mine about this last night, where it was just... do you know Sanborn?
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah,
Sam and I were talking about this, where Sam's just like, you drink weird because you don't drink like an alcoholic. You also don't drink like how a person drinks. I just kind of drink as a social thing, to the point where it's just like, oh, everyone has a drink in their hand. Mm-hmm. I have to have a drink in my hand, and I drink it like water. And then when I'm done, I'm like, oh, well, everyone else still has the drink in their hand. I better get another one. And then I just keep drinking, because I don't drink by myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, neither do I.
I don't have a need for it. I don't like to.
That's probably
I'm
good.
Much more juice guy.
Uh-huh.
But when I'm around people, I just, especially when like I would show up with like the bottle, like that, not even bottle, it's like a liter of white wine. It was because I just didn't do college parties or high school parties, so I was just kind of like,
You were just
oh,
getting it all in now.
yeah, and all of our friends were at least 5 years older than me. I was also like 20, so it was like super illegal.
Is that when I met you? You were 20.
Yeah. I was only 20.
Okay, yeah.
So that's why I would only drink at parties, because it was like a thing of like every time I went to bars, I would have to like hide in the back to do a mic.
Yeah, so you were doing your college and high school partying.
Yeah.
Around people who were maybe out of that phase.
We're totally out of that phase, and totally we're in that like we can just socially drink. And here I am going like nuts all the time. They're like, "What the fuck's wrong with that guy?" I'm like, "I never had those experiences."
Yeah, because I remember at least one time you being shirtless in here.
One time,
Well, like,
there's been
one time that I recall, and then probably many others.
Oh, so many times. I've been naked in this room at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know for a fact I have, because this room used to be Kevin's room.
Yes.
And yeah, one time Kevin got real sleepy, like he does. You know, when he gets tired, he gets real sleepy, and he had fallen asleep in the bed, and the party was kind of wrapping up, and people were leaving, and I thought it would be so funny if I just got completely naked and just crawled to the bed next to him, and then I did, and then he looked over, and we weren't Kevin's my best friend, like we were.
Sure.
Yeah. He's you know, we're at that point now where like if I do that, it's just like a Tuesday. It's fun. But at that point, we maybe had met twice before, and it was maybe the creepiest thing a human being could do is just crawl into bed naked.
And just wake up and
then
just
look over
and
and
be
like,
oh
hey, how
my
are
God.
you? Yeah. And
Is that what you said?
Yeah, it's just like, hey, and then Frogs was like, oh, okay, this is happening, you know. And then, oh man, and I don't remember the rest. I was pretty drunk.
So
yeah.
And right, so yeah, I definitely remembered that phase of knowing you. I think that's around the time I met you. Was when you were in that phase, and then I don't think I remember not seeing you for a while, and then you kind of, when you came back, I was following you, started to do like, you were doing more comic books. You started drawing more comic book stuff.
I started drawing my own stuff at that point because I was writing comics during all that, but it's different from writing comics and drawing comics. Because when you write comic books, it's like I write a script and I send it away, and then I just don't work on it again until it's done, and like the art is done, and I can then review the dialogue. But
so the way comic books are written are you write a script, you send it to an illustrator.
Yeah, or I send it to an editor.
Send it to an editor.
Then sends it back, and then I rewrite, and then I send it to the artist, and then the artist gives me their notes, and then together we work on it again, and then the comics, for the most part, are like a team effort. So it would be like that, and then so it's a long process when you're working with a team of people, and that's why I had so much free time to just run around and do crazy shit, and do mics. Also, at that point, I had a show at the Creek.
Yes.
And I had a bunch of shows everywhere. At Identity Bar, I had a show. I showed Sidewalk. There was one.
I remember this phase too. I think you had like 13 shows.
I had 13 shows in 1 month that I was producing, and it was insane. And I was also drinking crazy because most bars are like, we can't pay you, but we can give you alcohol. And I'd be like, great. And I just don't know how to drink like a person, so I would get shit faced. And then it just came tumbling down because of all the drinking and all the over.
Is that how you ruined a couple of things?
Oh yeah. Well,
just by like how did that play out? Because how did it play out too?
Well, what? Finish your question.
How did it play out to where you have 13 shows and then you didn't have any for a while, and now I think
no, I never
two?
I never not had a show.
Okay.
I always had at least a show that I was booking. But I went from like 13 to 2, and then 2 to 1, and I was just doing one show a month. And then that was for a while. I did one show a month where I just kind of calmed down, and then I stopped drinking for a little bit, and then I went back. Now I'm drinking again, but in moderation.
Right.
Which is
you're only, when you make the staff out of the cans of beer, it's like only to like your shoulders or something like that.
Well, actually, the other day I made you know what it is too? It's just I'm older, and I just know how to handle my liquor better, which is not a real thing, but it's just.
Well, you're maybe a little bit. You don't get as blind drunk. You get drunk enough where you can still maintain the thought of, I shouldn't be an asshole right now.
It's not even that as much as I now know that there's certain places where I can get blind drunk like that, and it's okay. So the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago, I got blind drunk like that.
Okay.
I was at Dave Piccolomini's house, and it was just a bunch of my friends playing board games.
Yeah.
And that's totally fine. The problem was 3 years ago, I was getting blind drunk at places like the Creek and at places like Grizzly Pear, and
Right.
which was Grizzly Pear is a terrible place. But the place like the Creek where it kind of matters not
Right.
to get blind drunk all the time.
Definitely.
Like fall down drunk. I got fall down drunk way too often at the Creek.
Right.
And what happened was I had a Creek show. That was my big show I was producing.
Mhm.
And I had a year anniversary show, and then I had Kevin Frolix be my co-host.
Mhm.
And then
I remember I was on that.
You were on that. So were 45 other comedians.
Yeah, I'm glad I was 7th.
yeah. 45 other comedians. It was insane. And every single comic brought me up a beer
Uh-huh.
or a drink, and I was blackout drunk 20 comics in, and
Okay.
I apparently got belligerent and terrible and sloppy, and the show just kind of ended, and I don't remember it, and then I don't remember what else happened, but apparently it did not go well, because a week later I got an email from Rebecca yelling at me, righteously yelling at me, by the way. Like completely, oh man, she's good, thank God for the, like, I remember at the time I was so devastated, and then
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like, I'm so happy, because one, I was only 21 when I had a show at the Creek,
Right.
which is way too young to be running a show by yourself anywhere, especially a place where you're booking comedians that you respect. Like the Creek was
Right.
a place where like I was getting Joe DeRosa to come in and do spots, and James Adomian to do spots.
Yeah,
and these
and-
are people who I like looked up to, and then I would get
Definitely.
blackout drunk because I'm 21 years old and I'm an idiot.
Yeah, and
And,
and at a place that's respected and with a owner who's like one of the most respected people.
Exactly. Don't get her shitty
In New
side.
York comedy.
Yeah. So she sent me like a long email of just like, you need to fucking be a professional if you're gonna take this seriously, because right now you're just fucking around. And I just kind of like sunk into my shell, and then I should have stopped drinking there, but I didn't. It took months. Yeah, it was like 3 months after that. Another terrible thing happened because of my drinking, and then after that, I'm not even gonna bring that.
No, yeah, exactly.
That's too terrible.
I hear you.
That was
Was that your like dark night of the soul? That moment?
yeah. That was definitely my that was definitely like the moment where I was just like, well, I don't think I should drink as much. So then I quit for months,
Mm-hmm.
and then not comedy, drinking.
Drinking.
I was still getting up, but the problem is like if you're going to drink as much as I was drinking, and then go to comedy clubs, it's real hard not comedy club, but open mics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear
Or
you.
like go to like open mics and shit. It's so hard not to just be drinking with everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so for the past week, I just haven't been drinking because it was my birthday week. It was my birthday last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and I drank a lot on my birthday. And the day before, I was drinking a lot. I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna not drink for a bit, let my body kind of go back.
Totally.
It's something I've been doing a lot lately, where it's just like if I have like a night of binge drinking, I'm like, great, I'm just not gonna drink for a week or two, and then I'll slowly go back to, drinking sporadically and stuff like that. But yeah, it's but it's this thing of just like last night I was at a mic with some friends, and Sam Bourne just bought me a beer, and I was like, I don't want a beer, and he was just like, well, I bought it, and then I just felt obligated to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna drink this beer, and I drank the beer. You know what? Felt
Right.
fucking awful. I felt because I didn't drink in a week, and I was like,
Right. So
still,
you are readjusting to the.
yeah. And then I'm gonna go to the Creek tonight, but I'm not gonna fucking drink anything.
Well, that's probably good. That's a sign of maturity. And how old are you now?
25.
All right. So.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've known you for like maybe 3 years or something like that. So
4, probably.
yeah, maybe closer to 4, and it's good to see you kind of pull yourself out of that
Yeah. It's
on your own, and then also having like Rebecca like slap you in the face metaphorically and be like, get your shit together, man.
yeah, but it wasn't. That took me so long to realize.
Mm-hmm.
It was so.
Yeah.
Weird. It's something where I look back, I'm just like, oh, thank God for that.
Exactly.
Because man, if I was drinking as much as I was drinking back, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was 3 years ago now. Man, I would fucking be dead.
Well, I'm really glad you're not, because you're a energetic source.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Of positivity.
Thank you.
I think, man. So man, like
some people think.
So what were the roots of that, you think? Because you did of your need to drink excessively, is because you had always, did you like have a moment where you're like, I've never done this and I want to, but I don't know how, and then that's what
that's
what
all
it started.
I was just stupidity.
Because you weren't like, you weren't drinking in college or high school, or
no,
family didn't.
Nope. Well, my dad's an alcoholic.
Oh, okay.
But it wasn't like an alcoholic thing where it was like, I need to drink. It was more like, oh, is everyone around me? All right, I guess I'm drinking. And then it would just
so
be,
it's
I just
like
don't,
trying to belong.
It was just, I was just fitting in, and I was like, everyone's drinking, I'm drinking. But the thing is, I wouldn't stop, and then everyone else would be like, all right, I had 3 and I'm good, and I'd just be like, oh, but we're drinking now. Socially, we're at a bar.
A TV has not been thrown.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, but I mean, like, no, I drink, but now I just know time and place is important when you drink, and the amount is important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you're, and because I'm want to trace the roots of how you became the snowflake that you are. Pat. Do you recall thinking that maybe your dad's drinking was an influence on your decision not to drink? Like, where did you grow up exactly?
I grew up in Brooklyn.
Okay, so you're from
Yeah, I grew up in Sunset Park.
Great
Brooklyn.
Great neighborhood. I lived there when I first.
No, you're part of the problem. It's a terrible neighborhood.
No, I left when I started I was like, I'll take credit for I'll be a hipster douche about being the first wave of gentrification in Sunset Park. Okay, so Sunset Park in the 80s or 90s?
90s.
And what's
more early 2000s.
Okay. I'm so curious what Sunset Park is like during that time.
I mean, like, I don't know. It was the thing about Sunset Park is it's blue collar Hispanic families. When I was growing there, it wasn't like a lot of gangs and stuff. Like, it definitely wasn't the best neighborhood. There was, like in any like inner city neighborhood, it had its same problems every neighborhood's gonna have. There's definitely there's gang
drugs,
stuff.
There's
violence. There's violence. But it wasn't that much, just because it was more of a family neighborhood, because it was more, Hispanic families and stuff like that. And then there's also the pockets of Irish Catholics.
Right. And then a lot of, I don't know if, and then like a lot of Chinese.
Oh, the Chinese didn't get in there until about like 2005.
Okay, so that's newer than.
It's newer.
Hispanic.
It's like,
okay.
I mean, because before, so there was like this weird, so Sunset used to be Norwegian, and then Polish, and then Irish, and then Hispanic, and now it's getting to be Chinese. But like, there's these weird pockets where you're walking around, and you're like, what's a Polish meat market place doing in the middle of 44th and 4th Avenue? And then it's like, oh, because 25 years ago, this was a Polish neighborhood. And then why are some of these parks here named after Leif Erikson? And why are there Norwegian street signs? I'm like, oh, because this used to be a Norwegian neighborhood after the Polish. And then there's just a bunch of like pockets of like Irish bars and like Irish
like
clubs.
if you do like on 4th Avenue, like down
the Haven
near the 50s.
Yeah, Haven 58th. That's where they shot The Departed.
Yes.
That's where all my friends I grew up with hang out.
Oh yeah.
It's this weird thing of just like everyone I grew up with hangs out there.
Okay.
Now still. And like if I'm ever just like, hey, I want to go see what they're up to, I'll just show up, and then like, oh, there you guys are. And then I'll be like, oh man, this is you guys just still hang out here? Because our parents hung out here. Like our parents hung out here, and now you hang out here. And it's like a weird thing of just like, this is just going to be a ongoing thing.
Right. That's like the city equivalent of, for me it would be if I grew up in the suburbs and then I like started teaching at the high school I graduated from.
Yeah.
Like
basically.
That's the city equivalent of like never getting outside of your
people don't understand this thing, but like most people who grew up in the outer boroughs in like neighborhoods like Sunset and like Sunset and Bay Ridge and Bensonhurst, stuff like that.
Right.
You don't leave your neighborhood often.
Okay.
That's where you are. That's where maybe you work elsewhere, but like you don't really, you grow up there and that's what you do. And like a lot of people I grew up with, it's just like they're just kind of always in that neighborhood. Like my buddy, I just one of the guys who I just reconnected with, which was so weird because him and I were best friends our entire childhood. And then I went to a different school in the 5th grade, and then we just kind of always were sort of like always friendly. Bumped into him at the bar, the Haven where I was talking about, and turns out he wants to be a comic book artist. And I'm like, cool, what do you do? He's like, oh, I went to Comic-Con. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. And I'm like, I go to all the Comic-Cons because it's kind of what I do for money most of the time. And then I was looking at his art, and then turns out he was like an aisle away from me this year at New York Comic-Con, which is weird. But he works in Bay Ridge. He lives in Sunset Park. And then that's what he does, and that's his life. And then every once in a while, he'll go out and do something else. Where my thing is like, I live in Sunset still, and I work mostly in the West Village, where I work at a comic book store.
Yes.
And then also I go run around and do mics every day. And then I go away most weekends to do conventions. Well, not these because it's not convention season yet, but like starting in the spring, I'll be gone every other weekend to go do comic book conventions and do stuff like that. And it's weird to be like, man, if I just I'm so glad I didn't just stick around to hang out here in this neighborhood, because it's really comfortable just to stay where
Yeah, exactly. And I remember I didn't get that itch to want to leave where I grew up until maybe like later in high school, when I just kind of realized, oh, I don't want to be here forever.
Yeah.
I have other things that I want to do, and I can't do them here.
It's not even like, oh man. Well, that's the big thing too. It's I have other things I want to do. There's a guy who started a mic at the Haven. Joe Pally. You know Joe Pally?
I don't think I do.
Fuck this guy in the face, man. How dare you? I was so insulted when I found out he started a mic at the Haven, and everyone was telling me about it, and they were just like, yeah, it's this old Irish bar. I'm like, that's my old Irish bar. Get out of my, I don't like it. I don't go to your town and fucking start invading your place. And it was just this weird thing of just like, this weird sense of like someone's pissing in my living room.
Sure.
And I'm just like, you don't get to piss. Like, if anyone's gonna piss in my living room, I'm gonna piss in my living room. I don't want to piss in my living room. You don't shit where you eat. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, you don't want to bomb too close to where you sleep.
Yeah. I also don't want people growing up seeing me get up and then just being like, oh, that's weird. And then just kind of going back to their drinks.
Right.
You know? I thought about going to the mic a few times, but every time I'm like, I'm going to go to that mic, I'm always just like, there's so many things I want to do in my life that this is not one of them.
Right.
Is to do this weird room. It's a weird room, too. It's like, it looks, the back room where they have the mic, probably, I don't know, I've never been, but probably where they do, it's a pool table and then old phone booths. It kind of looks like a Shriner's Hall.
Okay.
It's just an old, it smells like a bar kind of place. The pool table is the pool table that Leonardo DiCaprio gets his arm broken on and Departed.
Okay.
And then where they shot some scenes from Gotham there. They shoot a lot of TV and movies there now because it just looks like an old 70s.
Yeah,
like,
it still kind of has that feel. There's this, I haven't been, but there's this Irish bar on the Upper East Side called Ryan's Daughter that looks like it still has that vibe of that old school Irish pub. I know about it because and we'll touch on this a little bit. I avid supporter of New York City Football Club, and they did a thing to reveal the new secondary jersey. They had like Poku, and for that bar, the owner's a huge NYCFC fan, and they had David Villa come in and just they had him come in and just like before they announced it to the public, they had him come in and be like, oh, hey man, I'm here to show you what the new secondary jersey looks like. And I just thought that's
freaking awesome.
They did that, and then they had someone who's in one of the supporter groups who's a teacher at a school in Brooklyn. They had Poku come in and reveal it to him, and then they had Andrea Pirlo walk into like an Italian food place and do that to the old
Yeah.
owners. It was like a super cool video. I'll show it to you after before you go. But this is really interesting that this is like an interesting riff that we're on, because the comic book thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're growing up in Sunset Park.
Mm-hmm.
Are you that kid? Are you when do you get into comic books? Like what's the and also what's your family situation? Because you have a brother, right?
I have two brothers.
I
have two brothers, and I live with my grandparents and my parents, but like my grandparents it's like an old Puerto Rican tradition of like grandparents in the basement.
Right.
So,
I keep forgetting that. I keep forgetting you're Puerto Rican.
Yeah. Most people look at my face and then I have to explain it and they're like, no, you're lying. But no, I'm super Puerto Rican.
So Full House.
Full House. Yeah. Well, two full houses because my grandfather owns the main house, which is where I grew up, and then the house behind us on the block over.
Okay.
He also owned that, and then my family just kind of lived in both. Like, at one time it was like my entire mother's immediate family, like my uncle and my cousins lived on one building, and then we lived in the other building for maybe like maybe a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of the living situation growing up, was just like surrounded by family a lot.
Okay.
Which was good. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah. And you're getting along with your brothers and
I get along with my youngest brother like gangbusters. Him and I, pocket full of trouble. That's what we call ourselves. It's we're no.
Is this the musician? I think I was.
No, my cousin's a musician. You met my cousin John.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's my cousin. You must have met him because he was at my every other Creek show. He would just be the musical guest and just play music on the side. But no, that's my cousin John, who grew up across the street from me.
Okay.
You know, for most of my life, or enough of it where it made an impact. Yeah, that's my cousin John. My youngest brother is. Oh man, I'm really 18 now. I think he's 18. I'm bad with ages.
No, it's all good.
I'm older than my brother by a few years, both of them. I think I'm 6 years older than one, and then 8 years older than the other. So yeah. So I think he's 17.
Okay.
But yeah.
And what did your folks do?
Both my parents were okay. So my dad's a special ed teacher, and my mom's a school psychologist.
Oh.
So both in special education.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Interesting.
And then my grandmother was a kindergarten teacher, and then my aunt Frances was a principal, and then my grandfather was an electrician, sort of, and my uncle's a cop. So,
traditional New York Irish career path.
Yeah, well, mostly Puerto Rican. Yeah.
Okay, so a family of authority figures.
Basically,
for their
for the
work.
most part.
Okay, so how do comic books play into that? Were you an isolated kid or?
No. I've always my nickname with my grandfather on my father's side gave me the nickname when I was a little. He called me the mayor, because I would go introduce every time I walked into a room. I made sure everyone knew I was there and introduced myself to everyone.
Sure.
So I was always a very extroverted kid. Why comic books was simply
because I traditionally associate comic books with introverted and isolated people.
I didn't get into comic books until like much later in life. I got into superheroes.
Okay.
When I was young, because I watched the cartoons. I really love cartoons. So I was really into Batman the animated series and the X-Men cartoon and the Spider-Man cartoon.
Okay,
like
yeah, I loved the Batman animated series.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It's like
it was
one
great.
of the best.
And I liked the Batman movies and I liked X-Men movies. And my uncle John, who's a cop, he is super into comics. Like he used to collect comics when he was a kid, like crazy, and he's like super into Punisher and super into Daredevil. So he would tell me, like, anytime I would like, oh, I like this comic. And as a kid, he would just tell me basically verbatim, like, here's the storyline of Dark Knight Returns. And then he wouldn't give it to me to read. He would just, like, dictate it to me. And he would go, like, all right, so here's End of Days. And then here's this. And here's Year One and all that. He would just tell me all the stories. So I was infatuated. But I never really read comics as a kid. I remember the first comic book I ever bought, and I was like, I think I was really like 12,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a Marvel team up, Iron Man, Spider Man,
Okay.
that was drawn by Mike Allred, and I know that because I ended up finding it later on and buying it, and it was just a weird experience of like buying the comic that like the first comic I ever bought
Uh-huh.
because
Do you remember where you bought it?
yeah, it was a Galaxy Comics, or I think they were called Monster Galaxy, but it was right by the movie theater that I went to as a kid a lot. There was a comic book store there, and then I remember buying that. But I don't know, I was never really allowed to just spend money on comics because my mother, not that she was just like, don't waste your money on that shit. It was more like a, come on, don't do that. So I just never did. But I did used to buy a lot of dollar comics from the corner store.
Right.
Because the 99-cent store, they would sell like a bag of 3 comics for $1.
Okay.
And I would go through because I was obsessed with Moon Knight and The Flash, and I wanted to like, and it was like a blind bag where you can see what the first comic was.
Uh-huh. And
then
it's
you
just
got
sort of a grab bag for
2
everything
random
else.
ones. So it'd be a thing of just like if I had $4, I would go get 4 bags of comics, and then in the 4 bag of comics, I'll get like 4 copies of like Valiant shit that I didn't want, and then like 3 copies of Spawn #1 that no one ever wants, and then out of all these copies, I'll probably get like 3 comics that I would read, which is like maybe a Wolfman, a Werewolf by Night comic, maybe a Flash comic, maybe a Green Lantern comic, and that was the kind of comics I read. I never ever actually read in continuity,
Right.
but always just kind of randomized it. And then it wasn't until high school where I met this guy named Mitch, who I was like a
Is Mitch the guy who kind of is like, here's what you need to know?
yeah,
If you're-
basically.
It's that guy's important.
Yeah.
In your life.
It was weird because Mitch and I were same age, but he was like 6'1", athletic as fuck because he did parkour. Like parkour was just a thing, and he did parkour, and he was Polish Chinese. So he just like mixed kids just look fucking gorgeous. So he's like a good looking big
Right.
guy, and he was a super
Who's
into comics.
athletic.
Who's athletic, and I'll just be like, yep, that's my friend, and let's go. Tell me what you want. Tell me what to do, and we would go to Midtown Comics because I went to high school in Times Square, so we'd go to Midtown Comics.
You went to high school in Times Square.
Yeah, I went to Repertory Company High School for the Performing Arts.
Fantastic.
Yeah, the Fame School.
Oh, that you went to the Fame School.
Yeah, to dance and sing.
Okay.
But
Because
yeah.
I am. Everything about you is starting to make sense.
Yeah.
As I talk to you, because like I know we have a lot of similar interests, and you're like my guy for comics now. I'm like, okay, Pat, what do I need?
Yeah,
to
because
read?
I give you Haspel's
Which I loved.
Kuba and shit.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, exactly.
I really liked it, and I was like, okay, I want more of this kind of stuff.
yeah.
So I'll just next time I go to Carmine Street Comics, I'll just all right, Pat, what am I reading next?
Exactly. Yeah, I pride myself in knowing exactly what to give people.
That's good. That's a good skill to have. You can kind of
Yeah, I'm a good
open
salesman.
people up to a whole new world.
Yeah. Oh, a whole new world. Yeah, but so he took me to Midtown, and he would basically be like, well, these are the comics you got to read. And then what really got me into comics, and it's weird saying this, I was obsessed with Kevin Smith as a kid, like a teenager, like every teenager. Like
I got into him later,
white
but
teenager,
I got
think.
into him later, but I'd like heard of him, but then I didn't see Clerks until high school.
I didn't
but
see
then
Clerks until like late in
I
high
just thought it
school.
was great, but I loved it the first time I saw it.
I saw like Mallrats, and I was obsessed with Mallrats.
Uh-huh.
And I was like Mallrats and Dogma and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I was like, I fucking just loved. And then I saw Chasing Amy. I was like, oh, this is great. And then I saw that he wrote a comic, a Green Arrow comic, and I knew nothing about Green Arrow. And I just picked it up, and then I became obsessed with Green Arrow, and I read everything Green Arrow. And now Green Arrow is still my favorite superhero of all time.
Yeah. What draws you to Green Arrow?
Green Arrow is he's the ultimate liberal. It's not
Okay.
about being a superhero as much as it's about fighting for those who can't fight for themselves. And like people who watch the TV show, they kind of lose that, and it's what bothers me. But Green Arrow has always, at the base, been more about the politics of being a superhero than an actual superhero,
Okay.
and like what someone with a badge and a symbol can do with that power.
Right.
Like the Green Arrow, the Green Arrow comic everyone points to is a Green Lantern Green Arrow comic, where basically Green Lantern is flying around a broken down city,
Okay.
and he sees a bunch of black kids throwing rocks at this this white man in a suit,
Right.
and he stops the kids, and then Green Arrow comes out of nowhere and yells at Green Lantern, going like, "What do you know this guy? Why they're throwing rocks at him is because he's kicking them out of this tenement building," and then he takes him through the building and just goes like, "Look at these people. You're gonna fight for that asshole when these people are gonna have to find new places to live."
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this great moment where an old black man walks up and he goes, "Green Lantern, you care about the guys in space with purple skin. But what about the people here in America with black skin?" And it's like, oh, and then it ends.
That's good.
And it ends with him, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, beating the shit out of this fucking Wall Street fat cat. And then it's great. It's so awesome. And then they went on a road trip. And Green Arrow's always just been like, Green Arrow is like if Bernie Sanders had like had agility. That's all it is. It's just he's a socialist. He's a known socialist.
Known socialist superhero. Okay.
Who,
And
yeah.
when did he come out? When was Green Arrow?
Green Arrow. Oh, Green Arrow.
Because it sounds like he'd be super relevant now.
Well, relevant now, but like that. So when he first came out, he was just I think it was like late 40s, early 50s, and it was a Jack Kirby character, and he was him and Speedy. He was just Robin Hood clone, and he was just basically a softer version of Batman.
Okay.
For the kids who don't want to get like dark and grungy with Batman, you got Green Arrow, and he was like, happy go lucky. And then in the 70s, because he was Robin Hood, they decided it was Marv Wolf, not Marv Wolfman, it was Neil Adams, and oh man, it's gonna kill me. It's Neil Adams, and I'm gonna blank. I feel like crap.
Message it to me, and I'll put it in at the end.
Yeah, so they used Green Arrow as social commentary. So
right.
because I mean it's so hard to have Superman say, "I think the poor need to get more money," or like, "I feel like black people will have power." Like Batman and Superman doesn't get to say it. But this character who's supposed to be a Robin Hood character fighting for the little man, they used him as the voice. And later on, when I was reading Green Arrow as a kid, Judd Winnick was writing Green Arrow, and Judd Winnick was writing the storyline, which to this day, issue 71 of Green Arrow of Winnick's run is my favorite comic of all time because in this comic, Oliver Queen, Green Arrow, had just become mayor of Star City.
Yeah,
and there's a heroin problem in the streets, where there's this type of heroin that's turning people into monsters.
Okay.
So he teams up with his enemy of his, who's a drug dealer, Brick, who's a man who has brick skin.
Right.
And they team up together, and they fight these monsters to kind of figure out what's going on, who's tainting the drug supply. Because if someone's killing off all these junkies, Brick's not going to make any money, and also Green Arrow needs to save all these people. At the same time, in the middle of the panel, Fox News on one side, MSNBC on the other side are debating the politics of Oliver Queen as a mayor. So here's Green Arrow on the side fighting the streets, literally cleaning up the streets, and then here are two people going like, "Well, his views on gay marriage are too extreme," and blah blah. And then he's just like, "What do you think about raising taxes?" 2007, 2008.
Okay, so super relevant.
Maybe 2005. Yeah.
Okay.
Super relevant, and it's just it's just so amazing to read. Judd Winnick's run, and he also created one of Green Arrow's sidekicks, Speedy, who is Mia at this point, was a child prostitute that he saved.
Okay.
And then trained to become his sidekick.
Right.
Gets sick, and they take her to the doctor, and she has AIDS. She's HIV positive. Okay. And oh man, this amazing moment in comics where before she gets sick, she was asked to join the Teen Titans.
Okay.
And she finds out she has AIDS, and there's this whole issue of just like, how do you tell this poor 16-year-old girl that she has AIDS, and like you can't. What are you gonna do? And then he's like, let's just go. You're gonna go be a Teen Titan. It's gonna be fine. You'll take your medicine, and everything's gonna be fine. And she's heartbroken, and Oliver takes her to the Teen Titans Tower, and then she meets the team, and then before anything else, she goes, "I just need to tell you guys this, that I am HIV positive." And there's a pause in the panel, and then Robin goes, "Oh, okay, well, Beast Boy is green, Starfire is from another planet, Raven can talk to souls. come on, we're having lunch. It's like whatever, and it's this great moment. This Green Arrow, the tear rolls down his eye. Oh, it's such great comics. I loved it so much. It was like
That's fantastic.
As a kid reading it, it's just like this is what comics could be. It's not just go beat up the bad guy.
Right.
It's these social issues.
It's not just black. It's not just black and white simplistic. It can be used to parallel real life issues, and it can again represent like
and it was so important
people that aren't given a voice. It was so important
that
at the time.
So John Winnick, who wrote it, was known before writing comics. He was on The Real World, like season 2 or 3. He was on the season where the guy who had AIDS, Pablo, was on. Pedro.
Okay.
Pedro, who had AIDS, on the show, and then he was just his best friend, and then he died. He watched his best friend, and as the rest of America watched this guy slowly get sicker of AIDS, this guy in real life is just watching one of his best friends die of AIDS, and then he made this great book called Pedro and Me. And it's just
Which
basically
is again the tragic superhero origin story.
Yeah, right.
In real life.
Yeah, exactly.
Watches his best friend die, and then he creates something from that.
And then he creates something that he creates, and then he integrated that in this Green Arrow superhero run, and probably just because he's like, oh, I'm just gonna do this for my friend. I'm gonna do this, and then not even understanding how much of an impact he's making on people like me who are reading it and just being like, I didn't know that we can talk about this in comics. This is great. One day, my dream is to have to write Booster Gold and then make him dyslexic. That's it. That's all I want to do is just make him dyslexic because it makes so much sense for the character, and it always has.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to just make him like because there's no dyslexic superheroes.
Right. Yeah. You were telling me you wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, because I was talking about this the other day. Someone I was out with.
So you are dyslexic. So
I am severely dyslexic.
And just so I understand what that means, that means like if you look at like words or letters, it gets flipped.
Yes and no. So dyslexia isn't just like a thing about like words and numbers. It's everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's organization.
Okay.
So it's not words getting flipped while I'm reading them. Mm-hmm. I read it fine. It doesn't come out fine. I see the sentence, the cat crossed the street, but for some reason I will say out loud street cat cross or something like that.
Okay.
Or if I'm spelling, I will switch letters in a word, or I'll forget to write words, or I will write abbreviations of where I take a letter out, or I'll miss something like that, and have no idea. Same thing with numbers. Anytime anyone's like, hey, take this number, I'm just like, oh man, this is going to be a disaster because I'm just going to write down the wrong numbers. It happens to me so often. It's like that Monty Python joke in Holy Grail, where he's just like 1, 2, 5, 3, 3. That happens to me all the time, and not even like trying to be funny. It happens to me all the time.
Right.
But yeah.
So you're creative. So you're a creative kid managing dyslexia, and you're going
and ADHD, which was fun.
And I wonder. I would maybe think I had that at some point, but I think I'm just too lethargic to have ADHD.
Yeah, it's this weird thing of just like when you have ADHD, it's kind of like I can think of it more of a superpower than a problem.
Mm-hmm. So you like can sometimes get like super manic and racy about a bunch of different things.
I get like when I get hyper, and get excited about something, I get over the moon about excited. But also, I can focus intensely on several different things at the same time.
That I envy.
And it's why. So, I noticed this maybe a couple years ago, and then I went to a doctor for something else. I just asked like, hey, this is something weird. That is it? Just I pick up things like weirdly, and then he's just like, no, it's because you're ADHD, and I pick up so many small details. Like if we're walking down the street and we're having a conversation, 2 people here walking by us are having a conversation. There's a cat in the trash can over there. The wind's weird. There's something on the wall. I will pick up every little detail about it, and then you can quiz me, and I'll know exactly what I saw. And I can just give you a perfect picture of just like this, and this has happened. But I'm still focused on you, but it doesn't look like I'm focused on you because I'm focused on everything else. And it's hard for me to focus on a single thing. And a lot of people see me do this clicking thing with my fingers where I touch my fingers a lot.
Yeah.
And people just see it and they think, oh, it's like a mantra thing. I'm like, it sort of is. It's just, this is something else I'm focusing on, where if I'm talking to you and you just want me just to focus on you.
Right.
I'll just click my fingers and I'll just be like this. So this is just a way that I know I have so much energy going into this, thinking about my fingers and hitting every finger, that I can still talk to you straight and like, have this going on and this.
Sure.
And that's all it can be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it makes perfect sense because it's almost like you're channeling that tendency into that repeated
Into this one repeated action.
Into that repeated action.
Yeah.
Some of what you just described to me, I actually envy because I have the exact opposite problem.
Mm-hmm.
I can only focus on one thing at a time, and if a lot of things come at me at once, I tend to get anxiety and get really anxious about it, and then I just just the feeling of being overwhelmed constantly, and then I have to like retreat. Like I don't know exactly how to manage that yet. Other than just try to like, again, similar thing. Like I'll sometimes like I'll just like I try to like a lot of like controlled breathing.
Yeah. No, I don't. I get anxiety. You know what it is? I don't get anxiety. Like I'll just go right to a panic attack.
Oh, those are fun.
Oh man, I have a. It's like a thing of just like my anxiety is
when
like
your heart's racing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
You don't know when it's gonna stop.
I don't know when to stop, and I can't. I'm like about to cry, like breathing heavy, and then my heart's going nuts. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking lose my mind right now, kind of thing.
Okay, I've definitely had that too.
Yeah,
How do you get through stuff like that?
I don't. I just kind of go lay down for a bit.
Oh right. I'm asking. That's me asking for me.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer. That's
okay. So you just try to like find a way to calm down.
I kind of walk around. Sometimes I'll sing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I don't have a good answer. I'm bad at it. So
it's okay, man. It's a process still for all of us. Okay, so you're going to performing arts high school.
Yes.
Going to performance arts high school. You love comic books. Mm-hmm. Are you drawing comics yet?
No. I don't start drawing comics until 2 years from now. 2 years ago.
Okay. Oh, so drawing comics is a relatively new thing.
Yeah. I was writing them for as long as I've been doing stand-up, 5 years.
Was that the original path? Because it's my understanding if in New York you can pick which high school you go to.
Yeah.
So you pick the performing arts high school.
Yeah, I had audition.
What's the goal? Are you thinking actor?
I wanted to be on SNL.
You wanted to be on SNL.
That's it. That's all I wanted to do was be SNL.
Okay.
And then I just knew that the path to being on SNL was, everyone was like sketch people, so I wanted to do sketch. And then I was like, I like stand up. And then it was like, all right. And then I started doing stand up in like not for real, but like in talent shows.
Sure.
Around 4th, 5th grade. And then the drama teacher for the talent show was just like, why don't you do the theater stuff? Mr. Kalami, that was his name. Mr. Kalami told me I should do theater stuff.
Okay.
And then I did theater stuff.
I did theater in high school as well. Were you in plays in high school?
Oh, yeah.
What were you in?
Oh man, I was in a bunch. I was in Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum.
Classic.
I was in Sweet Charity. I was in Assassins. I was in Once Upon a Mattress. Big River. A ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
A bunch of plays too. True West. Another thing we did a lot in the school is where the students would write plays and we would perform them.
Okay.
So I wrote a bunch of plays that we performed.
Yeah.
Like real dumb shit that like I'm reading now. I'm just like, ugh.
Oh no, my writing from high school. I have like one of my old journals around here somewhere. I'm trying to pitch a story to Mortified, and I just trying to look at the emotional knowledge of me when I was like in high school. I'm just like I would beat the shit out of myself.
I would, yeah. I would hit me.
Yeah.
That would hit me hard.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So I wrote a play called The Lemmings that we did, which were about a bunch of lemmings about to kill themselves off a cliff.
Okay.
And then trying to figure out a way to control the population problem and then just not kill yourself at the same time.
Uh-huh.
And it was basically about like the play was about, and I'm reading it now, and I don't think I had this intention, but it's all about just it was like a teen sex comedy if someone trying to be Samuel Beckett wrote it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was real up its own ass, but at the same time, it was just about fucking.
Right.
It was real weird.
Just art fucking you in the face.
Oh, so bad. It was the whole play was just about like, we should use condoms, and then we won't have kids, and then that's all it was, and then they kill themselves. It was real dumb. It was real pretentious.
Okay.
All I wanted to do was be Beckett in high school.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with him. I was waiting for. I wrote the other play we did was Waiting for Bigfoot, which was my adaptation of Waiting for Godot, set in Central Park.
Oh,
And it was about two brothers looking for Bigfoot in Central Park because it's the only place they haven't looked yet is in Central Park.
No, they haven't yet, have they?
Yeah,
It's so
it was
funny.
real fucking dumb.
It's so funny you bring that up. I actually had Sam Z in here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I brought up to him this idea of doing a Mario Brothers themed Waiting for Godot adaptation called Waiting for Toad.
Oh my god, I love that idea.
I have to find. I gotta make it happen.
If you make Wario Pazzo, and if you make Lucky Yoshi, maybe that'll work.
Maybe.
Yeah. Because Lucky's supposed to be a pig, technically.
Yeah. So yeah, Yoshi, I think would work well for that.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be the dumbest thing that no one would want. But I feel like if anyone could do it, Sam Z could, because he did that Christmas Carol. Did you go to that?
I was out of town for that.
Oh man,
I was supposed to be in that. I didn't end up.
Yeah. I was
out of town that week.
I was Bob Cratchit.
Yeah, you were.
It was so much fun.
Awesome. I would like to do like a play with some comedians, like not at some point again, because I haven't done like a really solid like theater going experience probably since just out of high school, like and I was doing that was a children's play.
Oh,
so
yeah?
Slightly different.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it so much. Well, Frolix and I are writing a musical,
Mhm.
so we're gonna do that, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to. I'm gonna want to see that because it's about Lewis and Clark, right?
Yeah,
And we don't have to talk about too much, but
it's our version of the story of Lewis and Clark,
okay. I like it.
and that's all I'm gonna say.
Cool.
Real
So-
racist.
Awesome.
Anyway,
So we'll plug that when we'll make sure to plug.
yeah.
that when it's-
We don't know
it's
when
ready, yeah.
it's not ready yet. We're still
Mhm.
working on it, but I'm real proud of it. I like where it's at the moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But,
Excellent, man.
yeah, I'm excited.
Excellent, man. So cool. So I'm painting the broader picture of you.
Yeah.
Cause you know how you know so many people but you don't really know them,
Mm-hmm.
and it's nice that I have this opportunity to get to know people now.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Because I don't talk a lot like this,
Uh-huh.
you know.
Yeah.
I'm very much like 5-6 words. Even
Yeah, like,
around
hey, how
people
are
I
you?
know.
Good? All right. I'll see you later.
Yeah,
It's a weird thing.
More or less. Okay. So I'm trying to think what I want to ask you next. So, did you? So you're doing plays
Mm-hmm.
all and you start stand up in earnest. You said about 5 years ago
I was 20, yeah.
when you were 20. So you get through school and what's after that? After you get out of high school.
I went to college for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Was not for me.
Okay.
Did not like it at all. And then, but at the same time I was in college, I was doing comedy and I was working in a theater down in Soho, and I was just getting more of an education working in the theater than actually
Going to class.
and it was just bumming me out that like I was going to class and teaching one day I had to teach my theater tech teacher how to use a light board, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, why am I paying you the money?
Right.
So I dropped out of that, and then yeah, I was just doing comedy and making comics. And then about 2 years ago, I was in a weird place where it was like I had a bunch of comics out, but I just didn't like what was out because it was a weird thing of like the comics I wanted to do were memoir stuff. But it's really hard to write a memoir comic and then give it to an artist to
Right.
then draw for you.
About your life.
About my own life. Yeah, memoir. So it's, I want.
Yeah, this is something I'd like to talk to you about as well. Just this business of, because you self-publish a lot of
I self-publish
your
most of my
stuff.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in like the business of like selling and distributing your own stuff, and then you go to a lot of conventions, yeah?
I do. Yeah, yeah. I do a lot of that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we'll yeah, like 10 more minutes?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, cool.
Say.
Excellent.
Yeah, no, I do a lot of conventions. I'm not doing as many as I did last 2 years. This year, simply because I'm working on a bigger graphic novel,
Okay.
and it's just gonna take me longer. I'd rather work on that more. I do have something. I have the second volume of my comic Me coming out this year.
Okay.
The first volume came out in October, and it was Me and Me, Volume 1 and the Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
And now Volume 2 is probably going to come out sometime in the spring, and it's Me, Volume 2, The Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay.
And, yeah.
I like it.
But I've been working on this new book called Butthurt about I had this cyst on my butt
Okay.
that I kind of ignored out of stupidity, and it became a little cancerous.
Oh,
and
shit.
then it became the size of a softball, and then they had to remove it, and it just kind of coalesced with a how do you say that word?
Coalesced?
Coalesced. There it is. Coalesced with at the same time I was dropping out of college.
Okay.
And it's just like the parallel two things in my life and like how they affected one another.
Sure.
So I'm writing about that now, and I don't know how long that's going to take, but yeah. But so I've been working on that this year, and since that's a much bigger book and requires much more time than normal, I'm not doing as many conventions this year. But I'm doing at least like 10 or 12.
Okay, and when you go to conventions, so you have a comic, and then are you self-printing it, or you're sending it to a printer?
I send it to a printer, but it's like.
And then what's the next? What are like the next steps for like getting it sold or listed in places?
I just call stores, or sometimes I'll visit a store and hand deliver copies.
And it has like a barcode and everything on it?
Gray does. A book I did called Gray. That has a barcode. Barcodes are expensive.
Gotcha. Are they necessary, or can you get around with it?
You can get around with that one.
Okay.
There's certain, like Amazon, you need one.
Okay.
And Barnes & Nobles, you need one. But I'm okay with not being an Amazon and Barnes & Nobles.
Right. You can find ways to
get around that. You can. I'm on Amazon.com on Kindle.
Okay.
So you can read my comics on Kindle, but I'm not on. You can't buy a copy,
like a physical copy,
but you can on Etsy.
Oh, you sell them on Etsy?
Yeah, I sell the copies. I sell a bunch on Etsy. Actually.
Awesome. And how does? Because I'm trying to understand the business side of being an artist too. Like,
yeah.
How are you with self promotion and making sure that your stuff sells?
My Instagram and Tumblr are important because it's just free promotion. But I just do podcasts like this, and I talk about my book, and then people go, "I wonder what it's about," and then they read it, and they're like, all right, I guess. That's what it is. I mean, like, now I'm in a place where I'm trying to start getting some publishers interested.
Okay.
And like maybe publishing my book, because I'm working on after Butthurt, I'm going to do a book about growing up in Sunset that's based on the art style like Peanuts.
Okay.
Instead of being like in a white suburbia, being in like, the one white kid in a Hispanic black neighborhood.
I like it.
And then I have this larger thing that I'm going to do someday that I've been working on. But yeah. So it's just basically it's just a lot of work on the actual comics side, and then promotion side is just kind of like cross your fingers, and because also like it's hard, like it's not like I'm doing superhero stuff, and it's not like I'm doing more mainstream stuff. I'm doing memoir, and all my stuff is very like crud art style.
What's that?
Just shitty looking art. It's just a fancy word for shitty art.
Okay.
But it's crud art. Because I mean, like, I try to make it look like Schultz, like Peanut stuff. Like, what if Charlie Brown just grew up and became an alcoholic? But that's all it is. Yeah.
So it's intentionally unpolished.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of an art
it's supposed
style.
it's supposed to be more like journalistic, where it's like just like a page out of the book.
Gotcha.
But yeah.
Okay. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay, so when I have something that's tangible that I need to sell, I'm going to come to you, and then I'm also going to come to you for my next comic book recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Cool, man. And you're doing good. Like you're not drinking too much. Everything's going well.
I'm good. I'm okay. I'm in a good place. I'm in a good place now.
Uh-huh.
I'm working on a book that I'm proud of.
Cool.
Good.
Thank you, Pat.
Thanks, Will.
And I'll show you that video, and you'll let me know what comic book I need to get next.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you,
Thanks,
man.
buddy.
Okay, folks, that's the show. Thank you for listening. Pat's a really creative guy and a really nice guy, and I'm glad that he's on the other side of the drinking and the problems that he was telling me about. And I'm glad he's doing really cool and creative things. And I look forward to talking with him and seeing what he does in the future. If you enjoyed the show today, please subscribe on iTunes. And please feel free to rate, comment. All of those things help me. And it's a free way to support the show if you're enjoying what I'm doing. So thank you again for tuning in this week. And again, you can send me a message through my website, willcareyisfunny.com, if you want to comment or tell me what you thought about the show. And I appreciate you listening. And I will see you next week between awesome and disaster. Take care.